a place where you have to be ready. Don't get ready, you gotta be ready, right? I would layer things around me to prepare for different type of situations.
I got calls that he was in the airport, right?
Okay.
I mean, imagine that
All
shit,
right,
right?
I like that.
I would know when you land. He was in a Ritz-Carlton, from what I hear. And it didn't go well for him because he didn't do protocol-wise.
We've been coming to LA since 204, 205, and like they ain't never check in to nobody.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Just go to their hotel and move militant.
The Prince family is back in the headlines again, and true to form, it's still revolving around that same long-standing check-in culture tied directly to J. Prince. Known by some as the Big U of Houston, J. Prince and his family have held Houston's entertainment space in an iron grip for decades. But the day he tried to bring that same energy to 50 Cent, the whole plan backfired spectacularly. Instead of folding as most would, 50 did exactly what he does best. He laughed, trolled, and made it a joke. Let's get into it. Because back in the 1980s, J. Prince built something that genuinely meant something powerful in the South. Rap-A-Lot Records was the label out of Houston, and if you were popping in Southern hip-hop, especially in Texas, your path was crossing Rap-A-Lot at some point. Guaranteed. And we're talking about an empire that touched names like Bun B, Pimp C, Zero, and even Juvenile at different points. A real, undeniable powerhouse. But then time passed, and fast forward into the 2000s and beyond, that same label just didn't carry the same weight anymore. The hits slowed down, the breakout stars stopped coming, and the cultural impact that once felt enormous started quietly fading into the background. Rap-A-Lot didn't completely vanish, but compared to what it once was, things had clearly cooled off. And once that happened, people started asking the obvious question. If the music isn't hitting like before, then where exactly is the money coming from? And that's precisely where the rumors get louder, because according to whispers that have been floating around the industry for years, the word that keeps surfacing is extortion. The allegation is that there's been a long-running system where artists coming into Houston are expected to check in, and not out of genuine respect, but out of pressure. Now, J. Prince himself has actually spoken openly about the check-in concept, even claiming he helped popularize the idea long before law enforcement started weaponizing RICO cases against figures in hip-hop.
That I heard the word checking in. It was in relationship to Houston.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to take the blame for that.
In his version of the story, it's all about respect, protocol, and simply knowing who holds weight in certain cities. But depending on who you ask, that same concept lands very differently, because many people see it as nothing more than a shakedown, and over the years, there have been plenty of stories tied directly to that perception. Now, one of the biggest names ever pulled into this conversation is Jay-Z himself, and this is where it gets really interesting. According to J. Prince, there was a period where serious tension existed between them, and somehow, J. Prince knew exactly when Jay-Z's plane was touching down in Houston.
Calls that he was in the airport, right?
Okay.
I mean, imagine that
All
shit,
right,
right?
I like that.
I would know when you land.
The story goes that Jay-Z skipped the check-in entirely, and because of that, hold up, his hotel stay in Houston didn't go anywhere near as smoothly as it could have.
From what I hear. And it didn't go well for him because he didn't do protocol-wise.
But not everybody plays by those rules, and that's exactly where 50 Cent enters the picture. If there is one person on this planet built to not fold under pressure, it is him. Around 2019, when 50 was in Houston for business and an event, rumors started circulating that he was expected to check in just like everyone else. But instead of going along with the program, he did what he always does. He trolled. in what people say was a now-deleted post. He wrote something along the lines of, "I do not check in, I fly, and listen." That statement alone was already sending a clear message. But he didn't stop there, allegedly kept throwing subtle shots at Jay Prince and his entire camp. And here's where it gets really interesting. There was no response. For someone like Jay Prince, who has never been shy about addressing things publicly, that silence was deafening. People noticed immediately, because normally he is not the type to let something like that slide, especially not from someone as loud and visible as 50 Cent. Then Tony Yayo jumped in and added another layer to it, basically stating that G-Unit has never checked in anywhere. Not LA, not Houston, nowhere. They move how they want, but they move smart. According to Yayo, it was never about relying on local figures for protection. It was always about their own security, and always being fully prepared wherever they set foot.
Had a lot of drama, so you had to move militant. Ain't just going to the mall and just going here with jewelry on and this and that, and you gotta move militant, bro. Yeah.
And that lines up perfectly with everything people already know about 50 Cent, because his security is absolutely not a joke. Even Whack 100 came out and shared a story about trying to catch 50 off guard and learning real quick that it simply was not going to happen. At the time, Whack 100 was managing the game, so naturally, he found himself right in the middle of all the drama. According to Whack 100, he decided to confront 50 directly at his hotel in LA, walking in fully confident that he had the upper hand. But things did not go anywhere near the way he expected. Here's how the story goes. Whack 100 got tipped off that 50 was staying at the SLS hotel, just chilling at the small bar inside. So he rolled up with his crew, thinking this was going to be a simple face-to-face conversation. But the moment they walked through that door, he immediately felt something shift in the air.
Drop on 50 Cent one time?
We thought we did.
Right.
We thought we did. Until we got in there.
A quick scan of the lobby told the whole story instantly. 50 wasn't alone. He was posted up and surrounded by what looked like an elite, highly trained security squad. Whack 100 described them as Navy SEAL-level operators, sharp, scanning every corner of the room. Hands ready, formation tight and locked in. It was crystal clear in that moment that 50 Cent had not been caught slipping even slightly.
You had Navy SEALs with it. 2 in all directions. Probably about 6 of them. Guns strapped to their thigh. Bullies on them, semis on them, magazine cartridges. I said, yeah, he ain't slipping.
What this really reveals is that 50's preparation went way beyond just having muscle around him. This was pure intelligence work. He likely had informants keeping close tabs on everything, feeding him information about Whack 100's plans so he could set up what was essentially a counter trap. Even Whack 100 himself admitted it felt like 50 had orchestrated the entire thing just to send a very clear message. So if the idea was ever to pressure him into checking in, that plan failed spectacularly. But 50 Cent isn't the only one who refused to play along with Jay Prince's system, because NBA YoungBoy is another name that comes up every time people discuss this. Back in June 2020, a group of people broke into YoungBoy's house in Houston, and this was no random break-in. Whoever did it knew exactly where the car keys were. Ak knew the full layout of the house and even knew where specific personal items were kept. And to make it even stranger, they recorded the entire thing on camera, moving through the house, talking and flexing like they had just pulled off something legendary. But when everything was said and done, the actual items taken weren't even significant. According to YoungBoy, all they really walked away with were his cameraman's Gucci flip-flops and a little bit of cash. Then came the part that made 0 sense. Those same people allegedly turned around and tried to extort YoungBoy for $30,000 to return what they took. YoungBoy wasn't entertaining that for a single second, so instead of paying, he jumped on Instagram and publicly challenged them to drop their location. And just like that, the burglars vanished completely. But right when things were settling down, J. Prince suddenly stepped into the situation out of nowhere, publicly announcing that he had recovered YoungBoy's stolen items, framing the whole thing like he was simply doing a favor, like a generous figure who stepped in to clean up a mess and make things right.
I got your keys to your Rolls Royce. I got your keys to your McLaren. You know, all that they took.
But instead of cooling things down, J. Prince's involvement actually made people look at the whole situation even harder. To a lot of fans, it didn't feel like a rescue at all. It felt like something else entirely. Like maybe the situation was far more controlled and coordinated behind the scenes than it appeared. And YoungBoy himself wasn't buying it either, responding publicly and making it clear that if J. Prince genuinely wanted to help, there were better ways to reach out than performing on the internet. He told him straight up, mind your business.
Around me, you could call. It's plenty ways you can get in touch with me. Man, don't get on no internet and do nothing publicly. And I'm good on them keys, gangster. When you buy cash, two keys come with the car anyway. Man, you bitch.
That response did not sit well at all. J. Prince fired back publicly, calling YoungBoy a dumb boy multiple times and positioning himself as the OG who had done a favor for a younger artist who didn't know how to show gratitude. He also brought up the fact that YoungBoy and his brother had previously been connected to mob ties, which is tied directly to J. Prince Jr.'s circle, and the message was crystal clear. YoungBoy had once been aligned with them, and now he was acting like he didn't know where he came from. But according to YoungBoy, this tension didn't even start with the robbery. He had already been speaking on J. Prince well before June 2020, publicly accusing him of trying to pressure him into a business arrangement where artists allegedly had to check in or pay to move freely in certain cities. Now, he didn't sugarcoat it either. He called it exactly what he believed it was: extortion. So when his house got robbed and J. Prince suddenly appeared with the stolen items, nothing about it looked random anymore. To a lot of people, it looked like pieces of a much bigger and more calculated play. YoungBoy never backed down from that position, and if anything, the people around him doubled down, with voices like Whack 100 suggesting the whole situation may have been an attempt to pull the NBA camp under the mob ties umbrella. But instead of working, the whole plan backfired badly.
Don't do this, bring him back. Let me use this to try to bring NBA into the mob ties.
He also made it crystal clear that YoungBoy is simply not the type to fold under any kind of pressure. According to him, YoungBoy genuinely does not care who you are or what your reputation is. He is not easily intimidated, and if you push him far enough, he is fully prepared to take things all the way. And that reputation has followed him everywhere ever since.
I'm not playing with that little nigga. Ain't no playing with him. He's serious as a top one out of all them niggas in his era. Whack who? NBA YoungBoy going. That ain't no act he doing.
He'll crash out.
He's going to crash.
Then things got even more intense in 2022, because Whack 100 went a step further and hinted that YoungBoy may have responded to the robbery situation in his own way, suggesting that someone actually got killed behind it. Now, that part is all alleged, but people ran with it anyway, and fans even started pointing to lyrics claiming YoungBoy may have referenced it directly in songs like F the Industry Part 2 and certain freestyles. But this situation ties into something much bigger that has been building more recently around the Prince family, specifically J. Prince Jr. Over time, a very particular narrative has started forming, where critics say instead of moving like a traditional music family, they move more like a street crew. And J. Prince Jr. has been catching the most heat. And because a lot of people feel like he is always somehow present when something goes wrong, like he keeps ending up at the center right when chaos erupts. Two major situations people keep bringing up are Takeoff and Duke the Jeweler, and both incidents had eerily similar setups. Dice games, late-night environments, tension slowly building, and then things turning deadly. And in both cases, J. Prince Jr. was reportedly present. Now, to be clear, the Prince family has denied any connection between them and what happened in either situation, maintaining that their presence had absolutely nothing to do with how things played out.
Associating me with that Duke the Jeweler situation because I went to Labusa pool party and he happened to be there and he happened to be standing on me. I mean, right next to me. I never met him before. I had no idea who he is. I didn't even know he was a jeweler until after his passing.
But a lot of people in the public simply are not convinced, because to them, this was never about direct involvement. It's about the pattern. And once people start recognizing a pattern, they start talking loudly. An OG out of Atlanta even stepped forward publicly and warned artists directly about this whole check-in culture, and his message was simple. Stop relying on other people's networks when you touch down in a city. According to him, some of these so-called OGs aren't actually looking out for you at all. He told artists to bring their own security, control their own movement, and never fall for the idea that someone else has everything handled. These fake OGs don't care about your safety, he said. Get real security, and don't let anyone tell you a car is waiting, or that they've got you covered, because that's all cap. That's exactly how you end up like Takeoff, dead over something that could have been completely avoided. And Whack 100 has been beating that same drum repeatedly, specifically warning artists about Houston and telling them to keep their distance from certain circles, including the Prince family and especially J. Prince Jr.
Entertainers, when you go to Houston, stay away from J. Prince Jr. A whole play going on.
And now the latest situation has only poured more fuel on an already raging fire, the shooting involving NBA YoungBoy's affiliate, NBA Ben 10. From what's being reported, he was shot in an incident that once again had J. Prince Jr. reportedly was present at the scene. It went down on April 8, 2026, at Confessions Restaurant and Lounge in Houston, and it was around 11:30 p.m. when things started going wrong inside the venue. What began as a confrontation escalated fast into something far more serious. A Detroit rapper known as All-Star Jr. later claimed he was surrounded by multiple men. The situation turned physical. He was pushed to the ground, and someone allegedly tried to snatch his chain. And that's when everything completely spiraled. All-Star Jr. pulled out a weapon and fired. Shots rang out inside the venue, and 2 men were hit.
With a couple guys. That altercation originally, and it appears from what they were doing, was trying to take his chains. Now, sometime during that part of the fight, our victim, who was originally looked like he was being majorly assaulted by several people and getting his chains ripped off, he presents a pistol.
One of those men was NBA Ben 10, struck multiple times in the torso and left in critical condition. The other man hit was Dead End Ron, taking bullets to his arms and legs. Both were rushed to the hospital by Houston police immediately.
Hit. One of them is believed to be NBA Ben 10, according to family members. Both were taken to the hospital and remain in critical condition.
Not long after the incident, footage started circulating online, and All-Star Jr. wasted absolutely no time telling his side of the story. He jumped on social media, called out J. Prince Jr. by name directly, posted photos, and made it clear he fired in self-defense, that he was protecting himself from getting robbed. A few days later, on April 13th, he doubled down even harder, dropping a track titled Expensive Wristwatch that held nothing back whatsoever. The song and visuals were clearly referencing the shooting, and to make it even more direct, he tagged J. Prince Jr. during the entire rollout. And that's when the rumors really started heating up. Word began circulating that investigators were allegedly looking deeper into J. Prince Jr.'s actual role in the situation. Some reports suggested authorities were exploring whether he may have had involvement in setting up the attempted chain snatching that triggered All-Star Jr. to fire those shots in the first place. According to insiders, tension had already been building long before the shooting even happened, because the word going around is that J. Prince Jr. and All-Star Jr. had been low-key beefing over a woman. The story is that All-Star Jr.'s baby mama was allegedly also involved with J. Prince Jr., and that personal situation had been creating serious friction between both sides well before that night.
Reason why NBA Ben 10 got shot and almost killed earlier today. J. Prince Jr. been beefing with a local rapper from Detroit about his baby mama.
People are saying that personal drama slowly built up and eventually spilled over into everything that happened that night. And of course, just like every other situation tied to his name, J. Prince Jr. denied having anything to do with what went down and has kept that same consistent stance. But at this point, a lot of people aren't even focused on what he's saying anymore, because this is no longer just one story or two stories that can be brushed off as a coincidence. It's a growing collection of moments that people are actively connecting together. The streets are talking, the industry is watching closely, and the scrutiny around the Prince family is only getting heavier by the day.